I know what you're doing right now. Your finger is hovering over the screen. You're already half deciding to skip this and move to the next thing. And that impulse, that exact impulse to flee, is precisely why this message found you. Because in the quantum field, nothing is random. No thought, no video, no moment of hesitation appears without reason. You are here because your frequency called this information into your reality, and your nervous system already knows what your conscious mind is trying to ignore. Something is about to shift. Human beings spend their entire lives running from the very moments that could transform them. The more desperately they seek change, the more they avoid the exact instant when change becomes possible. It's a pattern written into your electromagnetic field, a loop of resistance that keeps you orbiting the same frequency year after year. But right now, in this exact moment, two quantum states are colliding. One timeline where you scroll away and continue broadcasting the same signal, and another where you stay, where you listen, where the interference pattern that's been blocking your evolution finally begins to collapse. The discomfort you're feeling, that's not boredom, that's your energy field recognizing itself in a mirror. When consciousness meets its own reflection, there's always resistance. The old frequency doesn't want to dissolve. It will tell you this is nothing new, that you've heard it all before, that 3 minutes from now won't matter. But energy does not lie. Your nervous system is already responding. Your heart rate has shifted. Something in your field is paying attention even as your mind tries to dismiss it. Because on a quantum level, you are not separate from this moment. You are not observing these words from a distance. You are the field that's reorganizing itself right now. There's a reason this found you today. Not last month when you were still comfortable in the old story. Not next year when you'll have cycled through another round of the same patterns. Today, this hour, this breath, you've been receiving transmissions, signs that your conscious mind categorizes as coincidence, but your energy field knows as coherence. The repeating numbers, the dreams that feel more real than waking, the conversations where strangers speak your unspoken thoughts back to you. These are not accidents, these are frequency matches, quantum entanglements showing you that the field is reorganizing around your awakening. And there's urgency here, but not the urgency of fear. This is the urgency of a wave cresting, of a door that opens only when conditions align. The universe doesn't force, it invites, but the invitation has a window. Right now, your frequency is in flux. You're between states, neither fully the old pattern, nor completely the new. In quantum mechanics, this is called superposition, existing in multiple possibilities simultaneously. And in this state, you are maximally influenceable. The field is soft, moldable. One decision can collapse the wave function entirely. That restlessness you've been feeling, that sense that your life no longer fits, like wearing a suit 3 sizes too small, that's not depression. That's your electromagnetic signature, outgrowing the container of your old identity. Your energy is expanding faster than your beliefs can accommodate. You are being called to awaken, not in some distant future, not after you heal all your wounds or figure everything out. Now, in this frequency, in this body, in this breath, the call doesn't wait forever. It comes in waves, and when the wave arrives, there's a sacred threshold where transformation requires less force, where grace is abundant, where one shift in attention can reorganize your entire field. This is your wave, and every cell in your body knows it. Now here's where it gets interesting. Right now, there's a voice inside you screaming to leave, to scroll to the next video, to dismiss this as exaggerated or overly dramatic or something you've already heard before. That voice? That's not your intuition, that's your ego. And your ego is in survival mode right now. Because it knows. On some level beneath language, beneath thought, it knows that if you keep listening, something fundamental is going to crack open. A frequency lock that's been keeping you small is about to release. And once that happens, there's no going back to the old transmission. Your ego has spent years, decades, constructing a very specific electromagnetic signature. It's built an identity out of wounds, out of stories, out of patterns that keep you predictable, controllable, safe. And that identity has a frequency, a very specific vibration that attracts the same people, the same situations, the same problems, year after year. It tells you, you already know this. Nothing's going to change. You've tried before and failed. This is just more spiritual noise. But here's what's actually happening in the quantum field. Your consciousness is approaching a bifurcation point. In chaos theory, this is the moment where a system can no longer maintain its current pattern, where one small input can reorganize the entire structure. Your old self can feel this instability. It can feel itself dissolving, and it's terrified because the version of you that's been running the show, making excuses, choosing comfort over expansion, playing small to keep others comfortable, that version is sensing its expiration date. It knows that awakened consciousness doesn't need its protection anymore, doesn't need its strategies, doesn't need its fear. The resistance you're feeling right now, that uncomfortable sensation in your chest, that urge to click away, that's not boredom, that's the old frequency recognizing a threat to its existence. In neuroscience, they call this cognitive dissonance, but on an energetic level, it's much deeper. It's the interference pattern between who you've been and who you're becoming. Two waves meeting, two timelines colliding, and in that collision, there's static, there's noise, there's the impulse to flee back to the familiar signal. But you're still here, which means something in you is stronger than the resistance. Something in your field is saying yes, even as the ego says no. That's your soul frequency, and it's not going to let you skip what you came here to remember. Let me ask you something. How many times have you almost transformed? How many times have you watched an inspiring video, read a powerful book, had a breakthrough in meditation, felt the energy shift, and thought, this is it, this is finally it, and then 3 days later, maybe a week if you were really inspired, you're back in the exact same frequency, the same thoughts, the same reactions, the same life. This is the pattern of avoidance, and it's the most sophisticated trap on the spiritual path, because you're not avoiding growth entirely. You're consuming content about growth, you're thinking about transformation, you're planning your evolution, you're attending workshops and buying courses and filling journals with insights, but you're not actually changing your frequency, you're not actually reorganizing the electromagnetic field that creates your reality. You've become a spiritual consumer instead of a spiritual transmitter. And the pattern works like this. You get inspired, you feel the energy move through your body, dopamine floods your system. You imagine the new you, the awakened you, the version that has it all figured out. Your nervous system experiences a temporary state change, and then the energy fades, the inspiration dissipates, and you tell yourself you'll start when you're more ready, more healed, more clear, more deserving, more whatever excuse the ego generates to maintain the familiar frequency. But here's the truth that no one wants to hear. You will never feel ready. The ego will always find a reason to wait. Because readiness isn't a feeling, it's a frequency. And you don't reach that frequency by waiting. You reach it by deciding, by committing, by stepping into the unknown before your nervous system gives you permission. In quantum physics, the observer affects the observed. Your attention collapses wave functions into particles, possibilities into realities, but most people are observing their old self. They're giving attention to the pattern, to the wound, to the story of why they can't change yet. And so that's what crystallizes, that's what becomes solid. Breaking the pattern means you stop spectating your own life, you stop analyzing your frequency from a distance, and you start being the frequency. You stop preparing to transform, and you start transmitting the transformation. Right now, in this moment, you have the opportunity to break the cycle, not tomorrow after you meditate, not next week after you finish your to-do list, not next year after you heal that one last thing. Now, in this breath, in this choice, because the pattern doesn't break through gradual improvement, it breaks through decisive moment, through a quantum leap, through the instant you stop negotiating with your evolution, and you simply become it. You're being given a choice that most people never even recognize they have. The choice to stop running from the exact moment that could change everything. The question is, will you finally stay? So what is the opportunity? What am I actually asking you to recognize in this moment? I'm asking you to align, not tomorrow, not after you figure everything out, not when life gets less chaotic, or you feel more worthy, or the circumstances finally look right. Now, in this frequency, in this field, and alignment. True alignment is not complicated. It's not a 10-step process, or a certification, or a mountaintop experience. It's a tuning, like adjusting a radio dial until the static clears and you can hear the signal that's been broadcasting all along. On a quantum level, alignment is coherence. It's when all the waves in your electromagnetic field begin moving in the same direction, when your thoughts, your emotions, your nervous system, your actions all start resonating at the same frequency. And in that coherence, you become a powerful transmitter, not because you're trying to be powerful, but because there's no interference anymore, no contradiction, no static between what you are and what you're broadcasting. Here's what alignment looks like in the field of energy. It means you stop waiting for permission to become who you already are at the quantum level. You stop seeking validation from people who are still broadcasting the old frequency. You stop shrinking your electromagnetic signature to make others comfortable with their smallness. It means you start trusting the nudges, those impulses that don't make logical sense but feel right in your body. The synchronicities that your mind dismisses as coincidence but your energy field recognizes as resonance. The inner knowing that whispers in the space between thoughts, in the stillness between breaths. It means you commit to the practices that elevate your frequency, not as obligations, not as things you should do, but as natural expressions of who you're becoming. Meditation becomes the space where you remember you are not the thoughts. Breathwork becomes the rhythm that resets your nervous system. Movement becomes the way energy flows through the body, instead of stagnating in old trauma. But most importantly, alignment means you recognize that this moment, this exact moment where you're hearing these words, is the hinge point. This is where the timeline splits. In the quantum field, every moment contains infinite possibilities. Every breath is a choice point. And most people don't realize they're choosing. They think life is happening to them, that they're at the mercy of circumstances, of genetics, of past conditioning. But that's not how energy works. That's not how consciousness creates. You are always choosing, always transmitting, always collapsing wave functions into form through the simple act of where you place your attention. And right now, you're standing at a threshold. There's a version of you that closes this video and goes back to the same frequency. That version will have this exact conversation with itself again in 6 months, a year, 5 years. The pattern repeats, the loop continues. The same lessons show up in different costumes until the frequency finally shifts. And there's a version of you that stays, that listens, that feels the resonance in the body and says yes to it, that recognizes this moment as sacred, not because anything magical is happening externally, but because internally, energetically, the field is reorganizing. Which version are you choosing to become? Not which version do you want to be, not which version sounds nice. Which version are you becoming right now, through the simple act of staying present, of keeping your attention here, of not fleeing back to the familiar discomfort of the old frequency, because that's what alignment actually is. It's not a destination, it's a direction. It's not something you achieve, it's something you become, moment by moment, breath by breath, choice by choice. Here's something most spiritual teachers won't tell you. Waiting doesn't make you more ready, it makes you more stuck. Every day you delay your awakening, you're not staying neutral, you're not in some holding pattern, you're actively choosing the old timeline, you're voting with your energy for the familiar frequency, and the quantum field responds to what you're being, not what you're thinking about being. Action is the language of the universe, intention is beautiful, visualization is powerful, understanding is valuable, but without action, without movement, without the willingness to translate energy into form, it's all just potential, just possibility that never collapses into reality. And I'm not talking about massive action, not some heroic effort or dramatic life overhaul. I'm talking about the one thing you can do right now, in this moment, that signals to the field, I'm serious this time, I'm not just consuming, I'm not just thinking, I'm moving. The universe responds to movement. When you take one step, it takes 10 toward you. When you shift your frequency even slightly, the entire field reorganizes around the new signal. When you stop negotiating and start activating, grace floods in, but you have to move first. You have to prove to yourself and to the quantum field that this isn't another round of inspiration that fades by Tuesday. So what's the action? What's the one concrete step that will accelerate your shift? Maybe it's committing to a daily practice and actually doing it today, not starting Monday, today. Maybe it's having the hard conversation you've been avoiding because your nervous system fears the conflict but your soul knows it's necessary for your frequency to rise. Maybe it's investing in the program the mentor, the community that you've been circling for months because your ego says you can do it alone, but your energy knows you need the field support. Maybe it's simply saying out loud, speaking into the quantum field, I'm ready, I'm done waiting, I'm all in, not perfect, not fearless, not with all the answers figured out, just willing, just honest, just here. Because here's how the field works. It doesn't require you to have it all together. It doesn't demand perfection or certainty or unwavering confidence. It responds to authenticity, to genuine willingness, to the vibrational truth of someone who stops performing readiness and simply becomes ready through the act of moving. One decision, one action, one moment where you choose the new frequency over the familiar one. That's all it takes to start the acceleration, to signal to the universe that the window is open, that you're available for transformation, that you're not just consuming content about awakening, you're actually doing it. The question isn't whether you can do it. The question is, will you, right now, today, in this breath? Your future self is waiting. The elevated timeline already exists. All you have to do is match its frequency through the simple act of decisive movement. So move. We're at the end, but really, this is the beginning. If you've made it this far, you're not the same person who started this video. Something has shifted, even if it's subtle, even if you can't name it yet, even if your mind is still trying to categorize and file and make sense of what just moved through your field. Your nervous system knows, your electromagnetic signature has already begun reorganizing. The wave function has started to collapse, but here's where most people lose it. Here's where the pattern tries to reassert itself one more time. Because the ego is clever, it's patient, and tomorrow morning, maybe even tonight, it's going to try to convince you that this was just emotional hype, that you got caught up in the moment, that nothing really changed, that it's not that serious. Don't fall for it, because what you're experiencing in the hours after this moment is crucial. In quantum mechanics, there's a phenomenon called decoherence, where a quantum state collapses back into classical probability because it interacts with the environment. Your new frequency, this elevated state you're touching right now, is vulnerable. The old field, the old patterns, the old people and places and thoughts, they're all still broadcasting their familiar signal. And if you're not careful, if you don't seal this decision, you'll decohere back into the old timeline. So you need to anchor it, you need to make it real in the field. And the way you do that is through declaration, through speaking your choice into existence, not just thinking it, not just feeling it, saying it out loud, into the quantum field where sound creates vibration, where vibration creates form, where your voice becomes a transmission that the universe receives and responds to. If you're alone right now, say it. If people are around, write it, but claim it. I choose the awakened timeline. I choose expansion over comfort. I choose my highest frequency over my habitual patterns. I am done waiting for permission. I am done playing small. I am ready now. Feel those words in your body. Don't just recite them. Let them land in your chest, in your belly, in your cells. Let them become truth. Not because they sound nice, but because you're making them true through the act of declaration. In the ancient mystery schools, they understood something that modern spirituality has forgotten. Words spoken with intention reshape reality. Not metaphorically, literally. Sound creates cymatics, geometric patterns in matter. Your voice carries frequency, and when you speak from aligned presence, from coherent energy, you're not just expressing a hope, you're transmitting a command into the morphic field. The universe is always listening, always responding, always matching your frequency with circumstances, people, opportunities that resonate at the same level. And when you declare your new timeline out loud, you're sending a clear signal. This is who I am now. This is the frequency I'm broadcasting. Match me here. But declaration alone isn't enough. You have to honor this moment with action, not tomorrow, not after you sleep on it and see how you feel. Today, right now, what's the one thing you've been putting off that you know would shift your frequency? Do it today. What's the conversation you've been avoiding? Have it. What's the investment you've been resisting? Make it. What's the practice you keep saying you'll start? Start it right now, the moment this video ends, because the universe doesn't respond to words, it responds to energy, and your energy shifts through action, through movement, through the willingness to be uncomfortable, in the service of your evolution. This video found you for a reason. You didn't stumble here. You weren't scrolling randomly when this appeared in your feed. Your frequency called this information into your reality, because on some level, beyond your conscious awareness, your soul knew it was time. And the question now is not whether you're ready. The question is, will you trust that you're ready? Will you trust that this moment, uncomfortable as it is, uncertain as it feels, is exactly the portal you've been asking for? Because the universe doesn't send burning bushes anymore. It doesn't speak in thunder, or prophets, or undeniable signs. It speaks through videos that stop you mid-scroll, through words that land differently than all the other words, through moments where something in your field says, pay attention, this matters, you're about to remember something you forgot. You've been given a gift today, not the video, not the information. The gift is this moment of clarity, this window where you can see both timelines clearly, where you can feel the old frequency and the new frequency at the same time, and you get to choose. Most people never get this moment. They spend their whole lives on autopilot, broadcasting the same signal, wondering why nothing changes. But you're awake right now. You're conscious of the choice. You're standing at the fork in the road with your eyes wide open, and the door is open. The field is reorganized. The wave is cresting. All you have to do is walk through. All you have to do is match the frequency of the life that's already waiting for you. Your future self is on the other side, the version of you that looks back on this moment and says, that's when everything changed. That's when I finally stopped running. That's when I chose myself. That version is real. It exists right now in the quantum field. And the distance between where you are and where that version is just one decision, one moment of courage, one breath where you say yes to the unknown instead of clinging to the familiar. So here we are, the end of the video, the beginning of your shift, the moment you've been preparing for even if you didn't know it. The choice is yours. The time is now. The universe is watching. Welcome to your new timeline. Welcome home.